Hi, well this afternoon I'm going to attempt to sow some seeds and show you how I do that. And the first thing you need to do is fill some trays or some pots up that you're going to sow the seeds into. Now, depending on how many seeds you're going to sow, how many seed plants you want, if it's a lot of plants, you perhaps sow them into a half tray like that. If it's just maybe 10 or a dozen, you might go into a small tray like that. But if it was just like maybe with tomato plants where you only need 4 or 5, you might sow into a pot like that. And you're using, as in other things we've been using, a multi-purpose compass, which by definition can be used for just about everything. So that's not a problem. What we do is you fill the trays and we sort of give them a bit of a knock down so it firms up. They don't have to be completely full for seeds because they don't need that depth, and the same with the pot, just do the same with that. So all those are filled with compost. Now the next thing you do is you just water them with a can with a fine rose on it. This is a fairly fine rose, big can, you don't need as big a can as this, but it's a fine rose. And you do sort of like that, and probably like for about a count of about 7 or 8. And then you go away for half an hour and let it drain. And then you come back and you do the same again. And then half an hour later, when it's nicely drained through, you can start thinking about sowing your seeds. Luckily, as they say, I have some that I prepared earlier. So we don't have to stop for half an hour or an hour. We can get on with sowing our seeds straight away. Now, I'm sowing tomatoes today. As I've got 3 varieties of tomatoes and they're all going to look the same, it is very important today that we label these up and don't get them mixed up. So what I'll do, I'll just make a note of what I've got and put a label in each tray so I know what I'm sowing in each tray. The first one is Tumbling Tom. Very good for a pot. I had them last year, put them on the side on the shelf like this shelf. Lots and lots of sort of cherry sized tomatoes. Quite a good flavour, fruited all year, all summer. Different variety, one called Summer Last, which is sort of, it's got a golf ball size. It's sort of, it's a good all round tomato plant. Again, it fruited quite a long while for me, so I was quite happy with that. And the last one, very prolific variety, Cherry Falls. Now that wants to go in a medium sized pot, maybe like a 10-12 inch pot. And it gives you quite a decent sized bush with lots of. I'll just show you those. That's Tumbling Tom was the first one, sort of a hanging basket or over the edge of a tub. That one's upper cane in a pot for the golf sized tomatoes, and that one is the one in a larger container, but it's very much a tomato that trails, and you can see them. I grew all these 3 last year and they all cropped really, really well. Right, so it's often these seeds that are a bit more valuable. They put them in a second packet inside. It's a bit of a fiddle getting them out. The story is other seeds were sown, you tip them into your hand. Not many in there, just 7 or 8. So they'll go. I could have set those in a pot if I'd had them, to be honest with you. It's a bit of a waste to tray quite this size, but it doesn't matter, they'll be absolutely fine. So just sprinkle them on top, easy as that. Next one is Summer Last, which is the golf ball size. That's a good variety, and once I break into the packet again, I should think we're going to find the same as we did in the last one, that we don't get a huge amount of seeds. Exactly like the last one. About, I say, 10 seeds in there, but you know, I only need 2 or 3 of each variety, so this little packet will give me plenty and some to give away for somebody else to grow. The last variety is Tumbling Tom Red. We had Cherry Falls, which was a trailing type, and this one is exactly the same. Looks like there's a few more seeds in this one. Obviously it's a cheaper one or easier one to produce, maybe produces more seeds. Often if they're fairly cheap to produce, they put a lot in the packet, more than you need. See, that one's probably got, I don't know, 20 seedlings in there, or seeds. So you do that, and there we go. Now, these just need pressing in, and a really good trick is if you've got a tray that you haven't used, you can just give it a little press like that. It just firms the seed into the surface. again like that, and again like that. So they've all been pressed in. Then we need to go to our good old favourite, the sieve, and sieve some compost on top, because it's, as with the other seedlings we've said, you want to cover these seedlings to a depth of about the diameter of the seed. So it's, you know, it's sort of a millimetre or two of compost on top. It's not a huge amount, but you do need a little bit, and you need to sieve it over the top so you don't get lumps all over the, you put lumps on top of seeds, they don't tend to like to grow too much. They tend to bend around on. So just like that. And that completes the planting process. As I said, you could have used one of these. You could, if you wanted a lot of anything, you can obviously use a big seed tray, but I doubt you'd ever want that many of many things, and half tray is quite useful. Now, having done that, there's three things you can do with that really. You can put it into an electric propagator if you're sort of very keen and want to grow things. That's an electrically thermostatically controlled heater. It's got a cable in the base of it between two trays, which warms up to about, when it's plugged in, about 60, 70 degrees. And that's absolutely ideal for your seedlings. You keep them in there, covered with the top like that, anywhere really, in your house, in your greenhouse, in your shed, and they'll come up over about, depending on what they are, but tomato plants will start to show just after a week, I would say. And once they come up, you leave them in a few extra days, and then you gradually get them out, hard them off, grow them on the side in the greenhouse or on the side in the house. Having said that, you don't need an electric propagator. Seeds to come up need their base, the temperature where the seeds are in the soil, to be somewhere between 60 and 70, we say, which is house temperature. So these could go into a poly bag in your house. They could go in the airing cupboard. Always dubious about airing cupboards because they're very warm and things come up very quickly and get very leggy very easily. So if you do that, you have to watch very carefully. If you're going to grow it on the windowsill in your house, well, what you can obviously do is you can pop two in there like that, cover that with a very reasonably cheap top cover, make yourself your own propagator. There you are, you've got two propagators straight away. Stand that on your windowsill or somewhere in the house where it's reasonably warm, and they'll come up. Again, you'd expect them to come up after about a week or so, and then gradually, you keep the top on to keep them from drying out. You shouldn't need to water those again, probably till they're up and half an inch tall, almost getting to a stage where you can prick them out. So you get the compost nice and wet, you put the seeds in, you cover it, and you cover it with a propagator top, and that really, if you treat it reasonably well, shouldn't need watering again until at least you've uncovered them a day or two. And that's as easy as that.